What's up, everybody? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about some debates that I've seen going on online when it comes to race, the Cosby situation, race, and the Brett Kavanaugh situation. And for me, it's always been a bad strategy when I see this happening. Like last night, I'm watching CNN while I'm doing my cardio, because cardio is boring. And I see they're talking about Sweatnick, who was the third accuser that I discussed yesterday that was more of a witness in the Kavanaugh situation or in something to do with the Kavanaugh situation. So one of the guys brings up what I said basically. If you see sexual assault happening at a party, then why would you go to another party with that same group? Or, another one of those parties? How is it you ended up at 10 of these parties when you knew there were people being sexually assaulted? And then she ended up getting sexually assaulted at one of the parties. And then one of the guys was like, oh, well, I suppose that's like saying that because she was dressed a certain way, she was asking for it. And I was like, okay, that's not the same. Because what they're saying is, if you notice that something keeps happening at a particular place, why would you go back? They're not saying that she deserved it. They're just saying, why would you continue to go there? So that to me didn't make sense. But I know people are trying to do anything to make their point right now. So then they're talking about sexual assault and the way that men have treated women, which I've already discussed that. It was very much accepted. Misogynistic behavior back in the 80s. You watch it in movies where you see guys spying on girls, and that's considered to be completely okay. It's just what boys do. Spying on girls when they're getting undressed, obviously. This kind of thing happening. Which I'm with this if women want to talk about that and address that. That's something that very much does need to be addressed. I don't have a problem with this. But then the woman chimes in with, because the guy's trying to make it seem like it's not that big of a deal, or it hasn't been that big of a deal, like it wasn't like that. Which, like I said, it was. If you were around, it was. So then the lady, who's a white woman, is like, this is exactly like when black people have been telling white men that police brutality has been happening, and white men, and I was like, or if we're going to go the race route, this could be the same as when white women accuse black men of doing things that they haven't done, sort of like Emmett Till. So, in order to avoid those two things even being brought up, because neither of them are the same. When it comes to color, I'm so tired of white people trying to compare what it is they're going through in any instance to race, because it's completely different. It's always completely different. Like, what you're talking about right now, white women, is problems with white men. That's you having problems with your men is what you're talking about. So don't bring people of color into it and all of a sudden make that your thing, because it's not the same. You're not the same, white lady. No matter what you say, you are not the same as a black person on any level. Your struggle is its own thing. And if you want to address that, I'm completely willing to accept that as being a valid struggle. But once you compare what you're going through to what people of color go through, that's where I'm not with you anymore. Because white feminism has always, always, always been a very selfish thing. And that's why they had to introduce intersectionality, which we can get into at some point. But it still hasn't done enough to address the sins of the past. And that's something I think a lot of people of color struggle with when it comes to white feminism. It's like white women want us to jump on their train and be 100%, we got your back, we're on your side. But for a long time, white women didn't have the backs of people of color, and that's just what it is. Even when the suffrage movement was happening, the beginnings of feminism, they would ask women of color to either not show up to marches or to be in the back, because they didn't want it to be confused with a race thing. They wanted it to be a woman thing, which of course at that time meant a white woman thing. So sometimes when you ride a little too hard on that and try to act like all of us are supposed to have your back now, as people of color, we're like, no, I don't necessarily have your back. Then I saw people talking about Bill Cosby and saying that he shouldn't be getting time because Donald Trump and several other white men that have been accused of sexual assault have not gone to jail or gotten any jail time. They pointed out Harvey Weinstein, Donald Trump, several others. And I can agree that those people need to be brought to justice as well if they're convicted of their respective crimes. But at the same time, I don't think that just because they haven't had their justice served to them, Bill Cosby shouldn't suffer any consequence. I don't see how that's supposed to make sense. Let's also not forget that Bill Cosby had accusations lingering for years and years and years before he was brought to justice. So when we just found out about Harvey Weinstein, and yes, I do think something needs to be done about Harvey Weinstein, but when we just found out about Harvey Weinstein, it might take a minute for justice to actually catch up with him, just like it did for Bill Cosby. People forget that Hannibal Buress brought it up quite a bit after the fact. That's why he was able to say, go ahead and Google Bill Cosby rape, and a bunch of stuff will come up. So, I'm not really following the thinking, even though I do understand what black people are saying. And it's not a lot of black people that I've noticed that are saying that. It's just a fringe group that seems to think that because nothing happened to some of these other men, that now we shouldn't be bringing Bill Cosby to justice or having Bill Cosby serve any kind of jail time. I really do feel like all of them definitely do need to be held accountable. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys even when you don't agree with me. Oh, and shout out to my one hater. If you notice on every video, no matter what I talk about, no matter what point of view I come from, there's always one dislike. And I'm sure that's somebody that has a particular opinion about me from probably Facebook. But I'm glad to have you watching. Thank you for the click, and thank you for giving the thumbs down to every video I do. I look forward to seeing your thumbs down on this one as well.